everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Sleep Like a Boss podcast. And I have an interview guest today. It's Michaela Sparrow, one of our sleep coaches. Hi, Michaela.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm a bit chilly. When I say chilly, it's probably nice and warm compared to Canada, but it's about 16 degrees.
Yeah, and Michaela is based in Australia, and I guess you're just switching into fall.
Into winter.
Into winter even, yeah. Yeah, well, we're getting into summer. Yeah, it is so nice to have you today, so that everybody can meet you and get to know you, and maybe we'll quickly introduce you. So Michaela is one of the Sleep Like a Boss coaches, and she is based in Australia. And as a profession, you are a naturopath.
Yes.
And work with clients anywhere. People don't have to be local to your area, right? They could be coming from
online.
Yeah, exactly. And your specialty, and maybe you can talk a little bit about it, but it goes in the direction of longevity, anti-aging. That's your passion, and that's what you specialize in. And we're going to learn about that today, I think. And we're going to have you talk about it with a connection to sleep, because, well, that's what we are all about, right? And how aging is affected by sleep, how longevity might be affected by sleep, and what are a few things that you specifically look at with your clients, and how you can help them get better sleep by addressing these things. So do we want to dive right into that?
Sure. Well, I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about me. I have a bachelor degree in naturopathy. I'm also a clinical nutritionist, and I did do further study in anti-aging medicine. So I guess if people aren't aware of what naturopathy is, sometimes there can be a little stigma around it being a bit woo-woo, but it's very science and evidence-based, although we do have some lovely traditional elements we use in there. And we're using integrative pathology, herbal medicine, nutritional medicine, personalized diet, and it's completely personalized to each client. And it's a very holistic form of medicine. So we are looking at you as a whole person and how all the body systems interact, because what's happening in one system is going to affect another. So we need to address everything, maybe not all at once, but we like to peel back the layers, because if we sort out one thing and we haven't sorted out a couple of others, you're never fully going to heal or get better, I guess. And we're really looking at addressing the root cause. So one of the really big things that I talk about with my clients, and this will kind of tie in, and I'll talk about a lot about sleep today, but is something called sneaky stress. So I get a lot of clients that are very, A-type, go, super successful, professional, really motivated and excited about life and just to be successful. And they go all the time. And a lot of them they think they don't feel stressed mentally. They feel pretty good. They're coping well with the millions of things they have to do. But when I talk about sneaky stress, it's a form of stress physically in the body. So mentally, you could be calm, you could be sitting on a beach in Fiji, relaxed, being served, delicious food, not a care in the world, not worrying about bills or relationships or work. But if you're experiencing any type of physiological stress or sneaky stress, your body thinks you're running away from a saber-tooth tiger. Your body is in that fight or flight survival mode. So we really want to make sure all the systems are healthy so that we're not experiencing that sneaky form of stress, which can be sorry.
Yeah. So if you're saying all the systems are healthy, what does that mean? Like, what systems could be unhealthy that would cause us to be stressed?
So there's lots of things. So I will kind of go down a list for you, but first of all, the gut wall. We have our gut wall, which obviously, when you look at how the size of the gut wall, it's about the size of 8 double bed sheets spread out. So it's a large area. Now we have tiny little fingers in that gut wall that kind of act as locks and all our nutrients and things come along and they unlock those locks and they go into the bloodstream and they do all the good stuff. Now, when we have any inflammation or what we call increased intestinal permeability, otherwise known as leaky gut, those little keys or those locks, are unlocked and open, and all sorts of stuff is getting into the bloodstream. That's creating inflammation because your immune system is obviously reacting to things that are in the blood that shouldn't be there. And we're getting inflammation. Small amounts of inflammation are okay, but that inflammation chronically over a long period of time is a form of stress, and it will start impacting your adrenal health, your thyroid health, your hormones, your blood sugar, your insulin, your joint health, everything. So that's for gut health. You've also got the microbiome as well. So, you know, we all hear about the microbiome now. It's kind of like the fad topic, but it is really important. So if that's imbalanced, it's going to create inflammation and imbalanced hormones, imbalanced neurotransmitters, which are obviously going to have a cascading effect on the body as well. The hormones are the little switches in the body that tell the chemical messengers that tell our body to do everything. So they need to be balanced. And then you could get down to the liver function, and the liver, if it's not working as well, there's 3 different phases of liver detoxification. And unless you live on a mountain in an organic cabin with no chemicals whatsoever, growing your own veggies, drinking fresh mountain water, your liver is going to be impacted. And that's going to shut down liver detoxification functions, which is going to imbalance your hormones, imbalance your blood sugar, impact your insulin, create oxidative stress and inflammation, another form of sneaky stress, because it's going to, again, kind of work its way out and in the body, affect the gut, affect the hormones, affect the adrenals, affect the brain. And then, of course, I mean, especially for me working with people, we always work on gut and liver to make sure they're healthy so things are balanced. And then, of course, you've got your thyroid function. If you're not absorbing nutrients probably from the gut wall, then your thyroid's not going to work properly and your adrenals aren't, and you're not going to get the nutrients you need for healthy hormone production and healthy sleep. They're all forms of sneaky stress. If the body isn't getting what it needs, the body isn't in balance, it's stressed out. Yeah. So they are some good examples, I guess, of, the different body systems being out of balance and forms of sneaky stress.
So, and how do I know that I have this? Do I have any symptoms, or is me not sleeping the only thing? Or
definitely there's going to be a lot of symptoms. I mean, people Google these things and, there's always lists of symptoms of when your thyroid is underactive and when your hormones are imbalanced, but every single person is different, and every single person is going to, show symptoms. Some people don't show any symptoms at all because they're in such survival mode that their brain just shuts down their ability to read those signs. Definitely, if you are not sleeping well, if you are laying awake not falling asleep, if you are waking multiple times, waking to pee a lot and waking unrefreshed, I mean, that's like one of the number one signs that things aren't right, because we should be falling asleep really easily. We should be waking up, jumping out of bed and, kind of waking up where you're like, oh my God, I just fell asleep, like you feel like it's flown by. So a fabulous example. But a few others that I that a lot of people really resonate with is like getting that afternoon energy drop, that energy lag, between 2 and 4. It's a good indication that your cortisol, your insulin, and your blood sugar aren't happy. Any digestive symptoms. Are you having a bowel movement every day? You should be having at least one every day. It should be fully formed. You should be getting off that toilet feeling empty and like free and light. We don't want bloating. And then you could look at things like skin, rashes, acne, general fatigue. Then you look at mood, because, if we have anxiety, that's deficiency in neurotransmitters, deficiency in microbiome, inflammation, and then obviously deficiency in nutrients. So look, if I just say to people, like, if you just feel like things aren't quite right, then they're probably not. And then a lot of these things, once we figure out what's going on, are quite simple to address. It's just about figuring out what the cause is. And it's really not the end of the world, but you just want to nip it in the butt as quick as possible.
Yes, because if you don't, just from personal experience, you're going to end up rock bottom. If you ignore, because I've done that, if you ignore those symptoms, and you might not, and that's something we can maybe talk about, because I was exactly one of those people, the go, work is everything. Then a kid comes along and it's multiple responsibilities and you're like, oh my God, and I'm still going, but I could. And then at some point, I remember I got food poisoning and I never recovered from that food poisoning until I actually got somebody, a naturopath, to help me. But I didn't have any more symptoms. But but all of a sudden I hit a wall and I was burned out completely. I couldn't, for days, I couldn't move. And then I slowly over a month regained function, like actual brain function and physical ability to make it through the day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like your body, your body you'll get to a point where your body forces you. So when you get colds or flus, if you're getting them frequently and it's forcing you to stop. I find a lot of people get sprained ankles or tear muscle, and it's like the body literally, because these people won't stop, you know. And like I said before, we started this call, in Australia, we have this culture of, it's a saying, she'll be right, mate. And, you know, she'll be right, everything will be okay. It's like a form of denial where you're like, no. And I find it more so with, well, especially personally with the men in my life, they just kind of soldier on until they get to an age where things do start falling apart and they're like, oh, actually, I don't want to be like this anymore. And it's like, you know, just kind of, I guess, taking responsibility and going, it's okay that you're not okay. And it's okay to stop. One of the things I told all of my clients is, one of the best things you can do is absolutely nothing.
It's hard. Nothing. That can be very hard.
It is. And when you get a prescription, so I write my clients a prescription, do nothing. Lay in bed all day and binge watch Netflix. And not every naturopath will tell someone to do that, but sometimes they just need that permission. And then they don't feel guilty, you know. Or busy mums, okay, well, I'm scheduling every Saturday for an hour, I go get a massage. Someone else sorts the kids out. Someone else sorts the house out. Do you know what I mean? It's just about really making that time for rest. That's the first step. Especially if we want, also we'll dive into talking about sleep, is when we are in a heightened state of that sneaky stress or fight or flight. So your body thinking you're in survival mode, pumping out that cortisol, which disrupts your circadian rhythm, which is that internal body clock that tells our body to do everything at certain times, including making that melatonin in the evening. When we're having too much cortisol, it's going to shut down that melatonin. So you're laying, you know, you've got a nice surge of cortisol at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and you're laying in bed thinking about all those things you have to do, thinking about that horrible situation that happened 10 years ago that was extremely embarrassing, or you wake up and you do it as well. And this is the problem too with sneaky stress, creating inflammation and causing an excess in cortisol, is that it will then disrupt all your hormones. So some people will wake up in the middle of the night, and it might be from cortisol, having a surge of cortisol, having a really big, which will then have a big surge in insulin, which will then cause a big drop in blood sugar. So you wake up. For a lot of women, it will be like a bit of low progesterone, which can also be affected by that sneaky stress as well. So really, you know, getting to the root cause of your sleep issues, we want to, you know, it's not just about taking melatonin or, you know, a tablet that's going to help you sleep. It's really looking at healing the whole body, and then the sleep will happen for good. You know, we're not relying on anything forever. Yeah,
exactly. I heard something the other day that I thought was quite on point. They said insomnia is not an ambient deficiency, which I thought was quite, I think, yeah, there is so many things. And I think what a lot of times is interesting is how you said it in the beginning, this holistic, the holistic approach to look at it completely and see what is the problem.
Yes.
And how you just explained how one thing affects the other. So if my gut health is suffering, if I have a leaky gut, or I have inflammation, or I have some dysbiosis, so bad bacteria have overgrown and are causing issues in my gut, this will have implications on other parts of my body, which I think is what a lot of people don't know, that it will affect your hormones. And that could be your cortisol, your melatonin. It can be your sex hormones, so your estrogens, your testosterone. It can be it will then eventually really stress your adrenals, because you're under constant inflammation stress. Then this can eventually have an effect on your thyroid. So it all kind of goes from A to B to C to D to it moves. And the longer you wait to address it, the more time you need to reverse it, because it's just like it's developed over time. So it's not going to go away as quickly. It can be, I think a lot of things can be reversed and supported well, right? It's just a matter of how long have I gone that path?
Yes.
So how far do I have to kind of walk back and then take a different turn to get on a different route?
Exactly. And, you know, like with a lot of these people, when we are in that fight or flight stress mode, the go, 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 our bodies don't feel safe. So for my insomniac clients, I always tell them it's because your body doesn't feel safe. So you're not going to sleep, because again, I like to use that analogy of caveman times, you know, back in the day, you're living in a cave. Well, we were chased by a saber-toothed tiger all day, so I'm not going to go to sleep because it might come into this cave and attack me. This is where our body's coming from. So we need to, do the things to make the body feel safe and secure, and of course addressing that. And I find too, you know, it is that cascading domino effect of one thing's happening another, but it also is a vicious cycle, because the sneaky stress, the inflammation shuts down the liver, which disrupts the estrogen, which drops the progesterone, which creates more inflammation, which then affects, and it's like just, this vicious cycle of the chicken and egg scenario, I call it, where, well, what are we doing here? So obviously depending, and everyone's different, and we do testing to see what the thing is, but I'm always, from when it's sleep related, we're working on the nervous system and, moving the nervous system from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system, so safe state, but also really working and nourishing the adrenals whilst healing the gut or the liver. And we do it in steps, because you can't do everything, but you do need to do a couple things at once, especially nervous system and adrenals, to just get everything feeling safe. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we always hear about. We sleep a lot of the time. It's like we talk about the hunger hormones that are switched on and the fullness hormones that are switched off. But there's a lot of stuff that happens when we don't sleep well. I know even myself, if I have a crappy night's sleep, if one of and I'm a crazy dog lady, so don't judge me, but the bulldogs will wake me up and go to the toilet 3 or 4 times in the night, and I'll be really grumpy. I will, my neurotransmitters will drop. I just lose motivation and I really struggle. But there's a lot of stuff that can happen with sleep. It's when our body heals. It's when our body regenerates. And at different times in the night, different things are happening. When we don't get enough sleep, that form of sneaky stress is going to deplete a lot of minerals. So especially our magnesium, a lot of B vitamins, which are then actually needed to make sleep hormones. So you end up in that vicious cycle. But I thought I'd kind of just touch on a couple of things that I find that the poor sleep, poor quality, and also not enough sleep really, how they impact the body. Now, I do find too, I get a lot of clients that they're not waking in the night, but they're waking up exhausted
Mm-hmm.
and they're remembering their dreams really well. So we know that they're only kind of getting into that REM sleep. They're not kind of passing over into that deep sleep. So again, you might feel like, well, I'm not waking at all, but you're just not, your body's just not allowing you to get into all those stages of sleep, which are all so important. They all have different benefits. So definitely, obviously, supporting the neurotransmitters and those mineral balances are going to help do that. But poor sleep, obviously, not getting into those deep parts of sleep, it's going to create a lot of inflammation, especially in the brain, which will impact, obviously, cognitive function in general, but also play a really big role in mental health. There's a lot of research coming out about the inflammation in the brain and depression. So, of course, we want healthy, deep sleep. You also look at, for an anti-aging and longevity perspective, we need between 8 and 9 hours of sleep to benefit from that lymphatic flush. So the lymphatic flush is part of the lymphatic system. If you know much about the lymphatic system, it's like the sewer system of our body, and all of the crap is basically cleared out through that. We also carry a lot of minerals and other things through it as well. Now, the lymphatic flush happens between hours, from studies, this is what they've shown, between hours 8 and 9 of your sleep when you're having healthy sleep. Flushes the fluid through the brain and clears out all the waste and debris. So for the prevention of Alzheimer's and dementia and general cognitive decline, we really want that. Now, from a personal perspective, my pop, he got dementia and he ended up in a dementia ward. Now, if you ever need to be motivated to sort out your health and really take care of it, go to a dementia ward, because it is the most horrific thing to ever see, and to experience, how terrified and frightened and just they're incapable of doing anything, and then they sit there, like he was in a dementia ward for 6 years. Like, that's not a way. So these things, of course, are not the only thing that are going to cause these things, but we need to make sure we're getting healthy sleep, we're reducing that sneaky stress, so that we can reduce our risk, so we can close that gap between the health span and the lifespan. So the health span being how long you're healthy for, and the lifespan being how long you live for. Because do you really want to have a health span to 60, but have a lifespan till 90? So you have 30 years where you aren't well and you're waiting to die, basically. Like, I would rather have a really small gap between the two. And these simple, once you get in a habit of supporting healthy sleep and addressing those things, it's really easy to stick to. Of course, we're going to have times we go out and party and have big nights at the casino, and or we have to wake up early to travel, but these things happen. So from a cognitive perspective, we need that healthy sleep. I know when I've done talks on sleep before, a lot of people really freak out because they're like, I'm not getting 8 to 9 hours a night to get that lymphatic flush. You can still support your lymphatic health in general. And you can obviously just work on improving the amount of sleep you're getting, improving the quality of it, and then working your way up to getting, that amount of hours of sleep. Unfortunately, we can't argue with science, though. The science says 8 to 9 hours, so it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, and some people are like, oh my God, I'm getting 4 hours of sleep and I wish I could get more, right? And I'm just so far away from that number, and that sounds scary and terrifying. It's really, I think the key is this finding out, doing the detective work on what is actually keeping you awake.
Yeah.
What is going on in the system that is driving your cortisol, that is maybe messing with your insulin, that has dropped your estrogen or progesterone and just doesn't let you have a good night's rest? Is there other stressors that we need to identify and then work on? And then help you get that sleep back, so you can, even if you're somebody who doesn't ever get to 8 or 9 hours, but you're not at 4, you have energy, you can enjoy things, you can do things you enjoy. There's excitement in life, there's fun and health overall, because I think that's one big thing. If you compare us to other sleep coaches, we always say we work on the body and the mind because we know it's both important, but we do have and we have people with different interests, maybe even in the coaches part. So we have some people who focus a little more on the cognitive behavioral part, so the stress and the trauma, and we have some people who are potentially a bit stronger also in the physical assessment part, but we all basically understand everything. But that's why the people who come away from working with us say, I sleep better and I overall feel so much better.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the most important part. It's not about being perfect or, yes, hitting that 8 or 9 hours, because if you're stressing about that, well, that's going to cause more damage. But if you're waking up and you have great energy throughout the day, you feel positive, you feel happy, you know, you're not letting things weigh you down, you're not feeling resentment or anger or guilt, or definitely that mindset side as well, that is amazing. And it's just about really, you know, enjoying life and the little things in life and how beautiful it really is, you know? Yeah, exactly. And I think definitely looking, with Sleep Like a Boss, it's such a different approach to other sleep coaches and sleep programs, because it's no one size fits all, you know? And it's also about being realistic. It's about, people are really busy. People have a lot of stuff going on. So it's about coming up with strategies that fit into their life. Yes, you know, you're definitely going to have to put yourself first. You're going to have to make some sacrifices, but it's about being realistic about, you know, where you're at in your life, your time, and your mental ability too. Like, I know a lot of mine, they don't have the energy to come up with what am I going to eat for dinner. So having someone, here's a meal plan for you, you know exactly what you need to eat. I don't have to think about that. Those kind of things. I say it's like, it's called, and it's part of naturopathic medicine as well, it's removing the obstacles of change. So it's removing those little things that are stopping us from changing and fitting it in with the lifestyle.
I agree. And sometimes I think that is what I see sometimes people struggle with, because we just talked about this perfectionism. We're going to take you through a change process because that's why you're there, because something's not working. So we have to make some changes, and this change, a process that is at first kind of comes at you with resistance. Yes, because your brain's trying to protect you, because your brain doesn't know what you're doing and it thinks you're going crazy, right? And it doesn't want that. So, but that is why working with somebody, I find from personal experience and from client experience, is so important, because we can help you, cheer you on, discuss those obstacles, find paths that you can go. And if some of them are a little more uncomfortable potentially, but you'll see the benefit of going there with help, then you have that motivation to keep going and making those changes, and then really feeling like $1,000,000 and having that energy and being able to do all these things again, going out, engaging with people, not worrying about, oh, can I go to that concert because it's actually really late, and am I going to be able to sleep? So that you get to a point where all these things are normal again, and you can just enjoy and go about your day and your life.
Exactly. And it's like, you're at a point too where you're, you know, I live like by an 80-20 rule. So if you're good 80% of the time, then 20% of the time, do whatever you want. So if you're healthy and you're sleeping well, and then, you go away on a holiday, and of course, like, you know, you're going to be out, you're going to be eating delicious, probably less than ideal food, but who cares, because you're in France and, you know, whatever. But it's like, enjoy it, and then get back on your schedule and the healthy way of living as soon as you can, and you can have the best of both worlds without feeling guilty. I find too, with a lot of my clients, they need that permission. So they need me to write the script that says, have a break, lay on the lounge and watch Netflix, do nothing. A lot of them too, you know, the house has got to be spotless and clean. I'm like, is the house going to blow up if you don't clean it for 2 days because you get home from work and you're exhausted, and instead of spending 2 hours cleaning, you go and lay on the lounge? Like, is the world going to end? And they're like, no. And then as soon as they start doing that, they're like, yeah, I mean, I get it. I don't like living in a messy house, but I'm like, you know what? It's not the end of the world. And they're like, oh, as soon as someone else tells them it's okay to not clean up for a couple of days and just have a break, it's a huge weight off their shoulders. And then, yeah, I always say to my clients, you'll become like either a self-care queen or king, because I never used to be that. And I'm like pretty self-care queen. Maybe some people think it's selfish, but I don't think so, because I function well and then everyone in my life benefits.
Exactly. That's the thing, right? You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah.
Great. Well, this was so helpful. I think this was fantastic. If people want to get these permission slips from you, how can they find you?
So you can find me I'm on Instagram at The Longevity Remedy, same as my website, thelongevityremedy.com. But if you want to book a Sleep Like a Boss consult with me, that can be done via the Sleep Like a Boss website. We're all on there, and we can take you through the whole Sleep Like a Boss program. But on my socials and website, I'm not just talking about sleep, but everything kind of has a longevity, anti-aging focus on all parts of the body, and also with that sneaky stress as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And everybody, thank you for listening. Reach out to Michaela if you need a bit of that permission for somebody to guide you through a process and helping you with that self-care, with health, with getting your sleep back on track. She's an absolute expert, and any questions you have, reach out to her, to us. We'll be happy to answer. And we'll see you next time.